What would you do if you woke up tomorrow with the realization that your
path is coming to an end?
Would you cross something adventurous off your bucket list? Would you try exotic foods and write about the experience on your lifestyle blog? Would you give away your possessions to the poor?
The man with no nose is coming for you.
Yeah, me neither. I'd probably make dumb internet videos in the hopes that someone found them entertaining, which is why today I'll be attempting to beat RDR2's 6th chapter by failing every mission objective and using the skip checkpoint feature. As usual, the other videos in this series are linked in the description. Now let's roll that footage quick before Dutch tells us he has a
plan.
I had a plan.
I got a plan.
I have a plan. I have a plan. This is the plan. I still have a plan.
I had a plan.
I said roll it.
This is over.
What's good, everybody? We open the game's 6th chapter in the cannibal-infested woods of Beaver Hollow. But there's no time to take in the scenery. I have some unfinished business to attend to in Saint Denis. I was on my way there last time to meet Sadie when I got horribly ill. Turns out she had arranged for a hot air balloon ride with a Mr. Bullard with the intention of spying on the prison in which John is being held. Now, Mr. Bullard is an eccentric fellow, to say the least.
Give it a good yank, don't be shy.
I can't tell what he's trying to get me to pull. The cord to make the balloon ascend, or his finger.
Now, one hates to be coarse, but on the subject of ablutions, time to catch a few vapors of our own. I'm expecting some good wind. Give it a good pull there. A decidedly harrowing experience for all involved.
Well, I messed that one up, didn't I? We fail to scope out the prison, and we catch up with Sadie back on the mainland, only to find out she's being chased by some O'Driscolls. Mr. Bullard tragically catches a bullet, and now it's up to me to rescue her. It went about as well as you would expect. Back on the ground, Sadie tells me to meet her at Copperhead Landing when I'm ready to get John out of prison. I head over there and find out my canoe is mysteriously unsinkable before fulfilling my role as the token man of this group by failing to ask for directions to Sisika. Once on the island, I'm presented with another one of the game's many sequences where my controls are locked. I'm forced to use my one lifeline this chapter to advance past the part where I walk the prison guard to the gate. John escapes from prison during a cutscene, and I do what I can to motivate Sadie to row faster. I want to pause here for a moment, because it's not often I talk about what goes on behind the scenes in this series. Lately, Epic or Fail has been mouthing off about the lack of attention he's been getting. And I get it, he barely got any screen time in Chapter 5, and horse safety hasn't been a point of emphasis since Chapter 3. In an effort to appease him, I would like everyone to know that there have now been 0 consecutive missions without a horse-related accident. Back at camp, I learned Dutch and Micah have a plan brewing in Annisburg, so I go to meet them. I meet some of the Murphy brood along the way, so I lead them back to camp to score my 4th free roam failure of the series. I arrive in town and find out Dutch wants to make a social call on Leviticus Cornwall of all people. I'm pleased to report it goes down exactly like you remember it.
Good. I prefer it this way.
Micah got so stressed out during the escape sequence, he asked for my help to light a cigarette for him. And then, this guy had the nerve to ask me if I had the lungs to handle the secondhand smoke.
You sure you got the lungs,
Bill and I are tasked with robbing dynamite from a convoy that's coming through Van Horn. A foolproof plan was almost assuredly devised, but I missed it because I was AFK. There may have been a slight breakdown in communication. Good communication, by the way, is a cornerstone of any healthy relationship. Bill makes an effort to improve, but says something you should never, ever say on a run like this.
Let's see if we can get this back to camp without blowing ourselves up.
Eagleflies shows up at camp and asks for help in retrieving some of his tribe's horses from the army. They are being held on a boat off the coast of Van Horn. I don't know about you, but I already didn't have a good feeling about this mission going into it, and I lost even more confidence in Eagleflies when I found out he doesn't even know daytime from nighttime.
Good. Let's wait until nightfall.
We free the horses in a dramatic sequence, and I have to save them from drowning. What I do next reminds me of when I used to fake throwing a tennis ball with my dog when we were playing fetch. The dog would get all excited, but then he would get confused when he realized he had run after a ball that was never thrown. This is exactly like what I do here, except this time I really did throw something, and it was a stick of dynamite instead of a tennis ball. My mistake. The horse does not find this funny, and reports me to HR for what he calls a workplace microaggression. HR punishes me by sending me on an impossible mission. John and I are sent to blow up a bridge to create a diversion as part of Dutch's plan? Whatever. The problem is once I get on this cart, there's no way to advance the mission without moving the cart down the track.
Hi. Editor OrangeWilson here, stepping in to say, I got a brilliant idea while I was editing this video. Remember the oleander sage trick that was first discussed in the Chapter 3 video? Yeah, it turns out you can still eat it while you're on the mining cart, and doing so will kill Arthur and allow you to skip this checkpoint. So, the perfect chapter is still a possibility.
The good news is the rest of the mission is easily failed in all the usual ways. This includes one where John does not even attempt to outrun the world's slowest train. I meet up with Charles and Chief Rainsfall back at camp. They ask me to accompany them to a meeting with the army as the two sides try to work out their differences. In a rare moment of respect, I choose to follow the social distancing guidelines for video game characters with tuberculosis, but I still fail the mission for not participating in the meeting. They would have been better off had I not participated. The next mission has me joining Sadie and Dutch in Saint Denis. Colm O'Driscoll has been captured and is about to be hung. We disguise ourselves as police so we can observe the proceedings without arousing suspicion. We notice some of his gang members and assume they are planning to free him from the gallows. We suspect they have positioned a sniper on the roof, and Dutch sends me up to find him. On the way, I get distracted by some fine artwork and forget what it is I'm supposed to be doing exactly. Oh yeah, I skip past the point of stopping the shooter, and I wonder what would happen if, I don't know, what if I took a shot instead of waiting for the hanging? Oh, sure. Blame me for blowing their cover. God forbid I do that before Sadie gets the chance to do the exact same thing 2 seconds later.
You ruined my life!
With Colm out of the way, Sadie is looking to exact revenge on the rest of his gang for what they did to her husband. The shooting starts, and things are looking grim. Realizing he may not have much time left, Arthur confesses his true feelings for Sadie in a tender, heartfelt moment.
Just die, won't you?
Unlike Arthur, I've always liked Sadie and this mission, and even though I didn't find any unique scoring opportunities, I think we can all appreciate one of Sadie's most memorable scenes in the entire game. I don't know about you, but I still find it hard to believe this mission isn't mandatory to complete the game because, like I said, I've always enjoyed it and I think there's some really good character moments in it. I regroup with Dutch as he attempts to deliver a dose of humiliation to an army patrol passing through the woods. Part of our attack plan, very cleverly I might add, involves rolling a wagon off of a cliff onto the troops in the valley below. The only unfortunate part is no one told Eagleflies to get out of the way. Army reinforcements arrive as we realize we bit off more than we can chew. Dutch and I were about to go skinny dipping in the river below when we got arrested for thought crime before we could even strip off a single piece of clothing. I guess it goes to show there's nothing the military hates more than skinny dipping, except maybe talking without using acronyms. I catch up with Charles at the Wapiti Reservation. I speak with Chief Rainsfall, and I find out his son was captured by the military. Charles and I launch a daring rescue mission. I skip past busting Eagleflies out of Fort Wallace and escape on what feels like one of those lazy river rides at a theme park, except this one is much more violent. Fortunately, my canoe is once again unsinkable, so it will be the bullets that kill me, and not the dreadful moistness of the water. I make it back to camp where Eagleflies has made a speedy recovery. He's ready to lead an attack against the US military stationed at the oil fields. His father implores him not to do it, but he won't listen. As we ride to join them in the fight, Dutch asks an important question.
What else have you been doing behind my back, Arthur?
Oh, nothing. We arrive at the battlefield and
It's a massacre.
though it is cinematic, it isn't quite cinematic enough. We thought it would be a lot cooler if we all rode our horses downhill in a hail of bullets. We rehearsed this scene for weeks. Each extra was thoroughly trained on exactly where to be and where to shoot. The timing of each person playing dead was thoughtfully planned out so it would look realistic. Costumes were brought in from the local clown store and then returned because they looked far too silly. The day of the shoot finally arrived. We started down the hill and...
Sorry.
Arthur farted, the horses passed out, and we had to do the whole thing on foot. We somehow managed to regroup and pull together some smashing fight scenes before I regroup with Dutch. We raid the savings bonds in the upstairs room, but Eagle flies is shot during the escape. Now, he may have survived had I not intentionally taken the long way back to Wapiti, but there's really no way to tell. Either way, RIP. I make it back to camp where Dutch's plan, if you could even call it a plan at this point, who really knows, is finally coming to fruition. The army is sending a train through Sans Knee with money to repair the bridge which John and I blew up. Dutch plans to rob it, but the train doesn't stop in Sans Knee as predicted. This kicks off a high-speed chase. I skip ahead and John is shot during the robbery. Dutch says he'll go back for him while we press on. I'm given very specific directions, so for once, I follow them.
Get off the gun! We need to go for the money!
Okay.
I do some more experimenting and discover 2 more failure conditions are possible if you don't leave the train. One happens if you don't get off the gun, and another if you refuse to jump off after getting the money. Interestingly, Arthur is not visible on the train in either scene, so that's something Rockstar didn't animate. I guess they thought nobody would be stupid enough to stay on a train that's about to... Anyway, following this mission, we learn John is apparently dead, and Abigail has been captured. Not wanting Jack to be left an orphan, Sadie and I ride into Van Horn to rescue Abigail. Sadie tells me I'm the better shot, so I quickly prove her wrong, lest she think her opinions have merit. Abigail, however, still makes a fine shot on Agent Milton, even if I don't fight back. But not before he reveals that Micah has been the rat all along. We flee the town en route back to camp, and I'm able to avoid a potential copyright strike by riding away from the intended path back to Beaver Hollow. Seriously, if you don't ride with game wants you to ride, the song That's the Way It Is will start, but then fade out. Okay. I made it. The final sequence in Chapter 6. I confront Micah about being a rat, and we're about to kick this whole conflict off when I realize I have to redo this entire thing because Susan's character model did not spawn in.
You be quiet, Mr. Bell.
There. That's better. Now we can kill her. But seriously, R.I.P. Susan. Turns out John was alive this entire time, and Dutch had left him to die. The gang is fractured as the Pinkertons show up and chase us off into the woods. Epicer Fail finally gets the screen time he so desperately wanted, and he's dead. John and I part ways for the final time, and I tell him to go to his family. And right when you think things can't get any worse, I meet Micah for the final showdown. Now, it seems like there's one failure condition I always get during these videos that I haven't used yet. Oh yeah. Except, no, not that death, because that's what's supposed to happen. No, I'm talking about these deaths, where Micah beats me up, neither of which I had ever seen before. Either way, Chapter 6 ends with our protagonist breathing his last. Arthur Morgan has failed his final checkpoint. R.I.P. And to add insult to injury, I got the low honor ending, as you may have noticed. Turns out, purposefully failing objectives by attacking gang members and civilians alike for 6 chapters. Yeah, that completely tanks your honor rating. Who knew?
Maybe he's still okay. No, really, they say the last thing you do before you die is crap your... Oh, never mind.
Where, oh where, do we go from here? Everything we know is in shambles. Our hero is dead, and there are seemingly no failures left in the West. I guess there's nothing to do but drive off into the woods and... What's this? We're getting reports of a Jim Milton on the road to Strawberry. And it sounds like he's got all the makings of a prize idiot.